What are the top skills SEOs should have, the ones who will survive that year of SEO dying and will not die as SEOs?
But the minute you invent a new phrase for this old thing, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, what's that? And we gotta be all about that. And it's just link building.
Now we are in a little bit different reality because search results in Google, when they are looked from a logged in user, are totally different than, for example, from what Gemini might see.
Search engines don't just automatically change because now there's some sort of AI interface or anything else. A topic is a topic, links are links. You figure out relationships based on similar logic. Not a lot has changed, even though the way we're utilizing the tools has changed dramatically.
What are we going to do? Does SEO even make sense? What's going on? Should we even try to rank in Google? Hi Lee, how are you doing? What's up?
I'm doing well. How are you, Olga? It's been a while.
A long time no see. I took a break in my podcast and in a lot of projects I was doing, and I wanted to make a comeback with this episode with you where we talk about the topic, I think, which is something everyone is talking about, which is AI and SEO, AI SEO. And before we get started, because I have the entire list of questions prepared and some data, can you tell the audience what are you up to in SEO? Because you are quite a figure there. And
I
if
don't know
someone
about all
doesn't know
that.
you, they should regret, I think.
I think that my background is actually in direct marketing and database marketing. Did that for 30 years. And I tinkered around with SEO for a lot of years before I seriously started to apply testing and analytic modeling to SEO to try to figure out what really works. Because then, as now, you have a lot of people that'll say, hey, you should do this or you should never do that. And nobody has any data, but everybody's very firm on their opinions. So I found that was a really horrible way to try to get rankings. And so from that point, and even to this day, we continue to test and analyze things to see what's working, what's going on with Google, what are they responding to and not responding to anymore. So that's my background, as I'm a big SEO nerd.
And what is it that you do now? Mostly like testing. Do you still do client work?
I don't do client work. We build our own assets. My wife has jumped into the client work arena. So I get to see her go through the painful stuff that's associated with clients and go, see, I told you. But mostly I work on my own stuff rather than the client work. So it's the same SEO, except that I'm my own client. That's the way of looking at that. So I don't have to deal with somebody saying, hey, we'd like it to go this way or that way. And I'm like, that's a bad idea. We're paying the bills. So I don't like to do those sort of things.
Yeah, so that's an ideal setup for an SEO, I would say.
Yeah, it has its pluses and minuses. There's less social interaction, and by nature we tend to be introverted as an industry. So we like me and my laptop and that sort of thing. Dang it, I got to go talk to a client. That's just the worst part of the day for a lot of people, unless you're really social. So there is that. But then what's the other interactions only come through talking to other SEOs professionally or friends locally.
Yeah. So talking about clients, I think we can start here. So I now get a lot of questions from current clients, prospects. Questions like, what are we going to do? Does SEO even make sense? What's going on? Should we even try to rank in Google? And what are your thoughts on that? In what camp are you? Because I noticed there are like 2 or 3 different types of people, with some of them thinking SEO is dead, what we should do, we should look for other jobs. The other ones more in the panic mode that, okay, Google has stolen all of our traffic with AI overview, so it doesn't make sense. Where are you?
All right, things are definitely changing, but there are certain things that have remained the same. So I'll lay out a little framework here that I kind of view the way your question is framed. Forever, and this is before SEO, just in completely different industries, but it applies across the board. I did consulting, database marketing consulting, for a lot of years. And I can tell you that in these sort of industries, in consulting and SEO, a lot of times is like consulting because there's not like one standard way of doing SEO. That the best way to get clients is to be on the leading edge. And being on the leading edge doesn't necessarily mean you're doing anything differently. Sometimes it's just taking something that's out there and calling it something different. Like it used to be link building, and then it was guest posting and outreach and digital, and it's all of these different things. But the minute you invent a new phrase for this old thing, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, what's that? And we got to be all about that. And it's just link building. That's all that it is. So I know that the best way to sell courses, training, consulting engagements is to invent a new term and say you're missing out on this, and then people will just flock to it even though it's the same old thing. And that's what I see. I've seen this through SEO for a long time. SEO dies every year. Something happens, SEO is dead. Now it's AI, SEO is dead. No, it's not AI, it's AIEO and all the different acronyms that we use for that. So SEO is dead. And it's not. One of the challenges for the folks that are the AI overviews have certainly changed things. They've stolen some traffic, and there's some arguments plus and minus to being in and not being in, just like it was with the featured snippet. It's basically an enhanced featured snippet. But one of the things that people have not grasped in this particular arena is that when you look at that AI overview, it's pulling its candidates from the people that are ranking on page 1. So you have to be well SEO'd for the AIO to even work. You don't have, hey, I'm in position 70, but I'm popping in that overview. That's not happening. So SEO is a prerequisite to the new cool stuff. The new cool stuff is not a replacement for SEO. So SEO is not dead. It's still required.
Oof, I can sigh with a relief.
Now, I will say the bad news, I think, in this is something that we started talking about back in 2023 when ChatGPT was first getting hold of SEO and a whole lot of other industries, but primarily marketing and the marketing arena. Is that I looked at that and said, okay, this is going to develop. It's developing on an exponential curve. It still is. It's going to get better and better over time. And over time, it is able to replace basic functionality, basic reasoning. And a good chunk of what our industry does is fairly basic. So I was saying a couple of years ago that we had probably 3, maybe 5 years before the models would be good enough that 2 guys in a third world company could offer $29 a month SEO packages that were almost as good as the stuff that's being done by the SEOs worldwide, especially here in the States. We can't compete with a $29 a month package or a $99 a month Supreme package. And I think it's getting closer and closer to those sort of things, so that if you really want to remain in SEO, remain in this industry, you're going to have to figure out how to know things that are not in the models and be better than those models. Because if all you're doing is saying, wow, now I can create content, blog posts for my clients, so it's $200 a month, 3 blog posts, takes me about 10 minutes, that's going to go away. And so is a lot of the other basic stuff. So I think AI presents opportunities for smart SEOs. And I think for the average SEO, they're going to start to struggle pretty soon.
I think so. And probably this skill, this knowledge of all the LLMs, at least the best known ones, the ones that are most widely used, the knowledge how to use them smartly to be able to basically automate, maybe
Mm-hmm.
replace some of our work, like getting inside. Like I started because I was on Google I/O, and I was able to look a little bit inside what's going on there, and how Google is obsessed with AI. Basically, the entire conference, like you probably saw, was about AI. And I was playing with Google Vertex AI. I got inside, and it is so fascinating. And I see so many opportunities there, like for me to, but there is like just 24 hours in a day and still client work, which is not ending.
No,
Now,
it isn't. There's certain things that AI is good for. So if we set the Wayback Machine 3 years ago, we were looking at Jarvis, which became Jasper, and all those
yeah,
sort of things. Like, oh man, this is pretty cool. Now, what it did was, in my opinion, it gave you a good first draft fast. And that's why I started using AI, because it took a while for me, if I was going to write content, to write the content. And I tried all sorts of different writing services, paying $2 an article, $50 an article, $100 an article, and it didn't matter. I would give them SEO instructions. Make sure you include these terms. Make sure it's at least this length between this many words and that many words, and blah, 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 and covers these things. And they couldn't do it. Like, humans couldn't follow the damn directions. And I had to do so much editing. It was the same amount of editing that I had to do when I got an article out of Jasper. So I would just say, fine, since I've got to edit anyway, I might as well get all my content for $29 a month or whatever it was. And I think there's still some elements of that. But what I find that is particularly useful right now from an SEO standpoint is automating the regular tasks that you do. For example, I use Quora and things like that. And there's certain things that I have to go through and clean up in Quora to get it the way that I want it to be for the work that I
Uh-huh.
do. So years ago, I managed to build a Quora automator so I can just throw a bunch of keywords into a list and it'll go and produce all those reports. Now I've built a thing that once the reports are done, it goes through, opens them all up one at a time, formats them the way that I want them formatted, saves and closes. So I don't have to do that manually. Now, when I'm doing something, that saves me probably a couple hours a week. And the couple hours a week adds up over time. So these little things are there. And it was a couple of days ago, I wrote a plugin that does a little thing that I needed it to do. And it didn't take long. I just asked, how'd you write a plugin to do this? And it gave me the code. And I was like, is it? And then I had Gemini and Claude go back and forth critiquing each other until they got something done. Then I tested it. It worked. And I'm like, cool. So I have a little plugin that does something now. I manually don't have to go and clean up stuff anymore. So it's little things like that you can automate. And I know a lot of SEOs in my mastermind are utilizing different forms of automation, N8N, Make, all of these sort of things to take actions in their agencies. It's the stuff that you do with clients and getting the AI or the code to do a lot of those steps so you can spend your time on the valuable part, which is analyzing the stuff and making decisions rather than generating the reports or grabbing the data or those sort of things.
Totally. And so which one of the models is like your favorite one, or do you like one more than the other, or it depends on the task?
Yes, and yeah, it changes because we've seen like when ChatGPT first came out, it would just write. And you saw, oh my God, if you wanted a 3,000 word article, you just say, give me an article, 3,000 words on this. There it was. It was awesome. And then all of a sudden it became expensive. And all of a sudden it was really hard to get more than 600 words out of
Yeah.
ChatGPT. But Claude was like, oh, you want a big old article? We'll write you a big article. And so switch your content writing over to Claude. So give me a 3,000 word article on it. Boom. And it did it. And go, ChatGPT. And then Claude got expensive. So it
Yeah.
started, and the models changed, their capabilities changed and stuff like that. So when a new model comes out or a new version of the model comes out, you run a couple of prompts through, you compare and say, oh, it does a better job now than this one. So you might switch for the tasks. ChatGPT can code a little bit. Claude's better. Gemini is good as well. I like to use those two in conjunction with each other because they can get stuck for different reasons. I know the reasons, but I just know that they sometimes get stuck. And if I take the code and where it's stuck and I take it over to the other model and say, hey, this is some code, it's stuck, it can't do this. The other large language model will sit there and go, that's because of this. Here's how you fix that. And then you can either have the second model fix it, or you can take the critique back to the first model and it goes, oh, that's a really good idea. And then it fixes it. So you don't really have to know a whole lot other than just some common sense in testing the output to make sure it's actually doing what you want.
Totally. I also like using a few more than one for one task, and sometimes like making
Right.
them consult one another. If you do, you also build custom GPTs, custom gems in Gemini? I think they're called. In Claude, I think you don't have them, you just have a project. Do you like play with that stuff as well?
A little. I found that with all the things they're restrictive. So I prefer to have just my prompts in, I use Typedesk. This was referred to me by a couple of different SEOs. And Typedesk, you can save a series of prompts or responses or whatever else, and then it's a keyboard shortcut to do the thing. So I could have a giant prompt to create some analysis or some piece of code, and it's slash, analysis, and then there's the prompt in whatever the language model is that I'm using. And so I find that makes it easier because then if I have a custom GPT and Chat GPT is acting wonky, now I have to go in, get its stuff out, and go move it over into Claude or Gemini or whatever model you want to use. And that's a pain. So for me, Typedesk gets around all of those platform specific things. But I know a lot of people that do really cool stuff with them. I'm just not one of them.
I haven't heard about Typedesk, to be honest. I just typed that and I will definitely be checking this out.
Oh, it is great. Typedesk is one of those things where it's a short. So if you always have the standard response to an email, hey, thank you for blah blah blah. We'll get
Yeah.
back to you and blah whatever. And so you're opening up your email, there it is. You just type slash and then
Mhm.
boom, there's your reply there, and it's ready to go. So I don't use it for
Mm.
that. I use it for prompts though, and it also has within Typedesk. You can prompt the user within the prompt. So if you want to do something that's keyword based, what keyword do you want to use? Boom, and then it inserts that into your
Mm.
prompt.
Okay, that's
The way you
cool.
can the way you can go. So it's almost like a GPT, but without
Uh-huh.
being tied to the
Okay,
specifics.
got it. Okay, but talking about large language models, like how would you do, and would you even do SEO for, if you were doing client work, SEO for those LLMs, let's say for ChatGPT, for Claude, how would you do that? Would it differ from standard SEO in any way? And if it would, then in what ways?
So there's two pieces to that, because the first part of it we talked about earlier. You have to be on page one of the SERP before you'll be eligible for the overview. And I think it works the same on Bing as well. And I think with Claude using Common Crawl uses, it grabs everything, but I think they're using like an authority filter. So only the sort of, it is top ranking sites, although they're not using Bing or Google results
Uh-huh.
directly, but it works the same way. So you have to have the SEO in place. Now, to get into those windows, what I'm seeing from a lot of friends who are testing and they're doing different and cool, some kind of fun, some kind of black hat ways of doing things, is that once you're up there, there are things that you can do that can influence the model. And I think everybody's trying to figure out, okay, when somebody types in best pizza, how can I get my client to show up there? And I think that's the wrong question. It's okay, now that we're on page one, or better yet, number one. Now, if we're not showing up, what are some things that we can do that make us more palatable to we have the right features, the right things in our SEO that makes the language model go, Olga's Pizza is the best pizza, and here's the phone number. So I think it's a two-stage thing. So I don't think about the second one. The second one is emerging, but I don't think about the second one until the first one's done.
And I think Ted mentioned that many times, that now we are in a little bit different reality, because like search results in Google, when they are looked from a logged in user, are totally different than, for example, from what Gemini might see if Gemini was to look into search results. I'm not sure if Gemini is logged in, a logged in user. Probably it isn't. So what would you say about that?
I think that is, Google is doing some things, I think, to try to personalize the results a little bit and also to clean them up, because they know that SEO tools largely scrape using things like headless Chrome and things like that, and that's a footprint. And so they can see that, and they know that if you're using headless Chrome or these sort of things, that you're more than likely not a real person. Whereas if you're logged in, you're more than likely a real person. Not that you can't spoof it, but not that you can't be a real person and not logged in because you incognito, for example. But I think Ted's discovery, if people grasp it, means that SEO tools that are scraping with headless Chrome are seeing a very different SERP than you and I are seeing. And so while organic results may be there, they're not seeing some of the other features, some of the other things, and the organic is pushed further down and can even be different for a logged in user. And I'm not talking about personalized, I'm just talking about it can be different for them. So the full implications of that we'll have to see. I know he's actively coding that into his Cora SEO software, but I think that if he's right about this, and I think that he might very well be, that SEO tools are going to have to adapt, or it's going to be a lot harder to get results using the standard SEO tools. They'll become less and less effective.
I was thinking about like the differences, and if we were to try to, for example, rank there, right? What would we have to do? What would be like a general piece of advice that would ensure we are in both? But I guess this is like fundamentals of SEO, right?
Mhm.
Technical SEO, all of that. And this second layer is only emerging. But do you have any insights on this second one?
No,
Any
I think
observations?
no, other than just the general, we've seen this evolution coming over time. It's just there's more now. So, for example, everybody knows in local, you get way more clicks if you're in the map pack than the organic. If you just think about it, it used to be you type in plumber near me or something like that, and the first thing is the map pack and three plumbers, and it's engineered so it's very clickable, and you just call one of them and you get them out to fix whatever it is needs fixing. And then the organic would be below that. So the map pack pushed the organic down. Then the Google ads were always there. They push the map pack. So you got the ads, the map pack, and then the organic. And now you've got the Google Guaranteed and stuff. And so that's up there, and the ads, and the map pack. And so now you got ads in the map pack, which pushes the map pack down a little bit, and the organic goes further. Then you also have now sometimes people also ask between the organic and the map pack. And so then sometimes you'll have a video or an image carousel. And so organic keeps slowly just pushing down, down, and down. And then the results went over time. It used to be 10 results, and now a lot of times it can be 9, 8, or less. So I'm ranking number one, puts you in the middle of the page, which used to be position 4, 5, 6. Now, number one is position 4, 5, 6. There's a lot of clicking opportunities above that. And there's even more happening now. So if you're not, the logged in user is seeing all of this stuff, headless Chrome is seeing a whole lot less of that. And so it's hard to evaluate whether the keyword is worth going for by using the standard tools. That's his argument. And I think it's a very valid argument. Just more stuff up above pushing the organic down is going to make it less effective, even if you're ranking number one.
One observation I have is that in most of the niches industries, this is the case. And on top of that, you also have AI overviews. I think in e-commerce, they do not appear that often, but
Right.
overall, they are like in 50 or more percent of queries. One observation I have, there is practically no difference, and there are no AI overviews, and there are no like ads in niches like vaping, right?
Mhm.
CBD, and those types of niches. And there, I think nothing changed in terms of SERP. So maybe now it is the time to try to be in those niches because their SERPs more or less look the same.
Yeah.
And talking about Google and its position on the market when ChatGPT first came out. And even now, I hear people say that now I only use ChatGPT or something else. Google is like irrelevant. I don't use that. And I think the most searched for query regarding AI, Google AI or something like that, is how to turn off Google AI, something like that, because I was doing keyword research and this was like by far the most popular one. What's your take on like Google dying or Google losing its power?
I think that I don't think that's the case fully. Now, it's interesting because I'm going to contradict myself here. I was shocked when they announced earlier this year Google's fourth quarter results, the number of searches and stuff like that was rising. And I was like, you're kidding me. With all the stuff that you hear about, I use this and I use ChatGPT and I use Perplexity and I rarely go to Google anymore. And I was like, yeah, I go to Google for less searches than I used to, but sometimes it's habit and sometimes just really quick. Where, how do I fix this thing? Or why is this thing acting wonky? Or in the Google. And the AI overviews even helped with that because it can give you steps. I don't have to go and research, open different search results and read those
Yeah.
articles. But then earlier this year, when Apple announced fewer searches on iPhones in the first quarter, I think it was,
Yeah.
fewer searches going through, people reacted and go, all right, now is that the tipping point where we start going less to the search engines and more to alternative search engines like ChatGPT or TikTok, YouTube, whatever? I don't know. But I know that if I'm Google and I see this stuff coming, search stopped being a high growth industry a little while ago. All the countries of the world, people had phones, people had internet access. Pretty much in the big English speaking countries, it was saturated for several years ago, and then it just expanded globally. So now you don't need a computer or anything else. We have our phones and satellites now, so you can be anywhere on the planet and doing WhatsApp or Facebook or Google or whatever. So it wasn't a high growth industry. So they were going to have to switch into something else, and they went hard into AI. And so that's where they're at now because AI is going to be their ability to cannibalize themselves if the market moves that way. And if it doesn't, it's an additional revenue stream either way. So I don't see search dying. I see it evolving a little bit. And it depends on users, and users take a while to
Yeah,
move.
right.
Even people that I only use ChatGPT to do this stuff. I'm like, do you ever do this? Do you ever do that? And it's like, that's a Google search. That's a Bing search. And they're like, it's just so ingrained because we've used it for so long that we don't even think about all those interactions that we have with the platform, just unconsciously.
Because like when I was writing my article about that, I had Gemini did quite a few studies on that, and I asked it to pull all the possible sources, all the data, and I got a ton of like relevant data points from different articles, studies, research, blah blah blah. And the numbers I got there, these weren't my numbers, my research, but were like showing that definitely Google is growing, not dying, that Google like
Mm-hmm.
ideally used that opportunity by pushing AI everywhere, pushing Gemini. And You probably saw that data that I think now all chatbots combined account for, I think, 3% of search traffic. Like
Hmm.
globally, Google is like still 90%, I think,
Yeah.
of traffic. And when you compare like Google, which daily gets 14 billion searches, other like competitors become quite small. Like ChatGPT, the biggest one, I think, has 37
Hmm.
million. So the differences seem like still like Google is by far the biggest, and those are like just small ones. So after seeing this, I became more optimistic.
Here's the thing. So let me take it the other direction then. Let me kill your optimism.
Okay.
Because we don't know. The truth is, we don't know. For example, I was shocked that the thing went up. But if I said to you, I don't use Google, I just use Gemini. When I ask Gemini something and it searches, does that count as a Google search in their numbers?
Huh. That's a good
So I
question.
can honestly say I'm not using it, but a search hits their system. That boom, that's one more, but it's coming through Gemini rather than coming directly through that interaction. And we saw, what was it, a couple of weeks ago, Google announced that if the AI overview featured you as part of the answer, it counted towards your impressions in Search
Yeah.
Console. And people were upset at that because when you see the AI overview, it might only show a couple of the
I,
things. You have to show all and go down to see, hey, even though I'm in position 7, I was considered as part of that AI overview. Now, okay, because I'm ranked on page 1 and I was in the AI overview, is that 2 impressions? And if you click over into AI mode, is that 3 impressions for the same search? Can you click the
mhm.
books just because you're accessing the system in a couple of different ways? Does each one of those ways count towards the data that they're reporting to me or the data that they're reporting to Wall Street? Those are clarifications that need to happen because otherwise they may be showing this trend down. So there's a lot of ways that they can, you know, use the data and hide the data and show the data in particular ways that don't let you see that there may in fact be a problem. Google may be on the downward side of things, and we can't see it right now based on the current reporting. So I don't know whether to be optimistic or pessimistic because I'm not sure exactly what their data means and how they're collecting it, and they're not exactly forthright with explaining all of that, which makes me worry a little more.
Tell me more about your worries.
If search is on its way down, instead of being up in the fourth quarter or maybe in the first quarter of this year, if it was down with a traditional Google search, but only up because AI is counting towards that, then okay, if we're starting that down, then now if I'm a business owner or I help business owners like in SEO, I need to be thinking, all right, I'm going to get less and less search traffic over time because people aren't going there. Where are people going? Do I need to be on TikTok? Do I need to be on Facebook? Do I need to be back doing door to door direct mail or something like that offline because that's where people are getting their information from? I don't know. But these are questions that you have to be able to evolve because if it starts to die and you know it's going to do something like that because you can see the trend, then it gives you a chance to react and adjust to the new reality. But we don't know what the reality is at all because the data is not clear.
What about AI mode? In the US, you can play with it without like any playing with VPNs. Tell me what your thoughts about it, what
I
your
don't,
experience is.
I don't have any thoughts about it because I have not played with that lately for a while now, but particularly lately, my focus has been on automation of tasks so that I
Mm-hmm.
can be more efficient in doing stuff. So regardless of what happens, I can react and move quickly with that. So I haven't played. If you said, "Hey, have you played with the new Olga.ai?" I'm like, "Olga has an AI? I did not know that." But I haven't played with a lot of the newest stuff yet because I haven't seen a compelling reason to yet.
Mm-hmm. So does it mean that you don't really use Google in the like old way? Because I think it's in the US, it sometimes just pops up automatically for some people. I'm not sure. So you would probably see that, you would probably play with that if you were using Google a lot.
I do when I'm going in, like for example, if I were going to buy Type Desk, and my friend Olga had
Okay.
recommended Type Desk to me or something like that. And I'm looking at it, and there's Type Desk. Oh man, that thing costs this amount. I wonder if there's a coupon. Then you just browser tab, Type Desk coupon. That's a Google search. It's an automatic, and it happens. I'm not looking at AI mode. I'm not looking at Type Desk versus some other competing product. I just want to know, is there a coupon? Does it work? Because I'm going to buy Type Desk. So my use of Google is very specific. I'm using it to see something, solve a problem, whatever. I'm not going in and going, all right, let's play in the SERPs. I don't have time that I devote to that right now.
Okay. And
But I see it. I see the cool new stuff, and I see it in newsletters and hear it from friends. Hey, have you seen the new AI mode? Yeah, I saw it. Have you played with it? Nope.
that's good. Like you have the focus on the things you planned on doing and you aren't getting distracted, right? By
I
by
want
by
to.
new thing.
Like everybody else, it's fun to play with the cool new stuff, but it's evolving so quickly, you can't. I don't, until I see a compelling reason, and generally it's a business reason, I don't go play. Because I know that you could spend 60 hours a week playing with the new stuff and
Easily.
not getting anything done and go, man, this is really cool. You could do this, you could do that. But then the translation to actually doing something that helps your clients or makes you money or gives you more time or whatever it is that you want, that's where it is. So I wait until friends, colleagues who are credible testers and things like that say, man, this does this really well. And then I'm like, do I need that capability in what I'm doing? And if so, I go play. And I have the added advantage that I can have my friend Olga show me Olga.ai because she's been playing with it for all this time and she can give me tips and tricks and cut my learning curve in half.
Got
So
it.
it's
And
easier. I just don't have the time to do all the fun stuff. So what I've done is I've outsourced it to everybody else on the planet. Go play and report back to me.
okay, so can you uncover a little bit more what you are doing? You are automating tasks, but you have websites, you are doing a lot of tests. Do those tests involve like maybe measuring traffic from LLMs or LLM scrolling? This is probably more for Charles, but anything about that?
Yeah, Charles and I are working on a variety of interesting tests because he has jumped into some places and pulled back some data. And I'm like, all right, that's pretty cool. That has promise. I'll jump in. So we've been sharing and doing some. So I won't out his particular research, but he had a Fight Club episode where he showed that putting the LMS.txt file up across stuff got zero freaking crawls. None. Nobody's looking for it, not even the language models. So even though it's the standard, it's not an adopted standard, at least not now. So I'm not testing anything in that because if they're not going to crawl it, they're certainly not going to utilize it as a key decision making, whether you're the large language model or a search engine. So as soon
Mm-hmm.
as he had that data, I'm out on that until somebody shows me that something has changed in that
Uh-huh.
arena. There is interesting data out that the AI overviews are causing a loss of traffic. I can
Yes.
see that. I'd love to see a little more breakouts on some of those things other than here was my traffic before, here's my traffic after. It's, okay, what sort of search terms are these? Are these informational? Are these transactional? Do they involve some of the sin industries like cannabis, CBD, adult? Are those there? What are you
Nope.
seeing where? But people don't have the breakouts on that. So it's hard to make any decisions or judgments because we've lost traffic is not a diagnostic. It's why have we lost traffic? Where have we lost traffic? What are some things that we can do to where are some arenas where we're not losing traffic and we have a chance to maybe even increase traffic from those sort of terms? That's not
Yeah,
out there.
I may actually have some breakouts. I would have to prepare them, but when I was doing this research for my article, I think I may be able to put something to
If you
create
do,
something interesting.
we'd love to
Yeah.
have you on Fight Club.
Okay, let me take a note of that because I think it would be possible for me to make a presentation out of it.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be long. A lot of times, Charles started it, and that's a good little idea. We'll do these little mini presentations on stuff like that, and just gets a conversation going. There's information there. It's good for the users. It varies things up on the show. So, anybody that's got data and things like that, we'd love to see it. Come on and have you talk about it.
Cool. 5 slides max.
It depends on what you're doing. If I have time this weekend, I have a presentation in mind for Fight Club next week, but it's a bunch of slides. It's going to take a little while. So if I have time to do it,
Uh-huh.
I'll do it. Otherwise, it'll be a week before I'll do
Okay, cool. I always listen to Fight Club when I'm cycling. And I am cycling like I have like a specific path, which is I always go the same path. And every time I go there in specific places, there is a specific piece of information like hanging when I go there. The next time, okay, so Lee at this place said that. And this is
it.
like,
That's cool. That's cool.
okay.
Yeah, I don't get to go bike riding because I have to sit here and record the show.
And in your training, I think the next one is in September or something like
Yes.
that. So will you be like incorporating more AI stuff, LLM stuff?
There is some, but again, because ranking is the foundation of getting into the other stuff.
The
There
game,
are
yeah.
tweaks that are made as we go along. Largely, those pieces are fundamentally the same. Some of the changes are how we use large language models. Like when I first started doing the stuff, we were coming out of Spin Rewriter into Jarvis and Jasper, and then that moved to ChatGPT, but you had to do this and this. And then other people later on, it's all right, here's some better prompts to get you a better first draft, and here are better models to use for these sort of tasks. So as it evolves, the way we execute things changes a little bit or a lot, just depending on if the models are really good at certain things. This morning, I had to put out a press release for I'd updated some content and created some new content on one of my sites, had to put out a press release for it. My press release process is 4 prompts and it's ready to go. So it takes me about 3-4 minutes to write a press release that is excellent and factual and all those kind of good things. But it takes a while to get the prompts down and figure out which models are good at what and all of those sort of things. But as you figure it, then it becomes all the little standard processes like that get faster. In my mastermind, we had a gentleman that presented about a month ago some of the ways he's using automation. And he uses Press Advantage for press releases. And so he has an automation that every day logs into his Press Advantage account. And if a new press release has been published, it goes and grabs the distribution list for that press release, pulls it into another process, and does a whole bunch of things to start his link building process to those press releases automatically. So he never has to touch that end of it. And the reason he did it, he said, it's not because I'm smart, it's because I'm forgetful. So I will forget to do that thing. So he builds the automation to go and do those things for him. So once the press release is in the system, he's done because the press release get distributed and then the link building aspect is done on an automated basis. Those are the kind of things that we incorporate now to make what we do more efficient.
And a word about Bing. Do you think Bing is now being more appreciated because ChatGPT uses Bing? Is it like getting finally the love it should be getting as a search engine?
I thought that it had a chance to make a bigger dent in Google. I didn't think it would overtake and oh my God, it's the new thing. But I thought it could bang 5 to 15 percentage points globally into it because of that. But it didn't. It shows you that once people are ingrained in certain things, it's hard to get them to switch without a major difference. And right now, Microsoft and OpenAI are breaking up. So how that relationship works going forward and how it integrates into search is just another one of those things. But Bing is still a good source of traffic for SEO. I still think SEOs drastically underestimate what they can accomplish with Bing. The interesting thing is I was looking at some things on Bing yesterday, and they're starting to do with their Copilot kind of their AI overview, and it's a little bit different than the way Google does it. I don't know whether it's better or worse, but it does mean that some things are going to change there. So people could see some traffic changes. I've done zero analysis to see where the overviews pop up and what's in them and how they vary and all those kind of things. But just noticing when I do searches in Bing to check things out, I am seeing a different presentation in the SERPs.
Okay, I haven't been checking that yet, but yeah, definitely worth checking more.
You have these, if you search for a celebrity, Taylor Swift or something like that, you're going to have all these photos of Taylor Swift and sites, and there's just big old set of multiple tiles right up there at the top of the search. And so it seems to be reserved for really popular entities, usually celebrities or big companies like Apple Computer or something like that. It would have those sort of things up there. I'm seeing that over on Bing for my little shitty brands, that you're starting to get that sort of thing up there. If you do a brand search, something like that, it's going, ta-da, and I'm like, wow, I'm a big guy now.
Okay.
And that's one of the like little weird differences that I've seen. I don't know if it's across the board or things like that, but I noticed that and I was like, holy moly, that's way different because you don't see that sort of presentation for the sites over on Google. You're not nearly not a big enough dog to warrant that kind of love. So
Yeah,
it's a different world, yeah.
that's cool. And so maybe two more questions. Like
Sure.
the first one, what do you think are the top 3 skills SEOs should have, the ones who will survive that year of SEO dying and will not die as SEOs?
I think there's a couple. The one, unfortunately, is there's a human nature component that works against most people in most industries, which is SEOs are always looking. If Olga, you came out and said, "Hey, I've done this research, blah blah blah, and I've got this little software," and oh my God, will it rank me number one? Can I push the software and boom, I'm number one? Everybody wants the easy button, and they don't realize that if Olga invented the easy button and I bought it and started using it, This person would buy it, that person, everybody would start buying it, using it, and then it doesn't work anymore because we all have the same process, the same technique, the same output. And I think thinking through this stuff, people would rather just listen and assume stuff is correct and just go crazy, which is what drives me nuts about some of the claims about AI and how Google is changing. It's clearly changing, but you can look at a SERP and see that it's not changing in some of the ways that are going around that are very popular theories right now. You can just look at the SERP and see that it wouldn't hold up to any sort of casual inspection. So I think critical thinking has always been there. It helps in any industry. I gave a talk in January where I told people that a lot of the shift that I've made has been incorporating CRO into the SEO. And it's not that I'm wordsmithing the page so it converts, but I am focused on conversion at a site level. And I can give you an example of that. If I had a roofing client and I wrote this great blog post, this 3,500 word beautiful blog post about asphalt shingles, and it ranked #1 for asphalt shingles, that's going to get clicks everywhere when people search for asphalt shingles, but it's not going to help my local roofer. Because if you're in New York City and I'm in Oklahoma City and you're reading my asphalt shingle blog, you're not going to click over and say, hey, come fix my roof. So there are lots of things that SEOs do that impact CRO based on the choice of keywords, the choice of optimizations, how you position the site, that are very different. So I think CRO helps you because then as things get tougher, if I can say, oh, good things have gotten tougher out there, but your business is up 35% year to year. And here's the reasons why. And I can show that the things that we did as an SEO to your site and everything else directly led to you having 35% more customers. You're less likely to leave. Whereas if I show you, hey, your traffic is doubled, and you're like, yeah, but my phone calls are down. I'm like, but your asphalt shingle blog post is killing it out there. That's awesome, but it's not doing anything for my business. There's that disconnect there. So I think conversion skills and just thinking through those business fundamentals. And there's another one. I have to credit my wife for this one. She grabbed some clients, and her struggle with the clients were that the clients struggled with basic business understanding. Wasn't even an understanding of SEO or digital marketing. In one particular case, for example, they were complaining that the business wasn't growing the way they had hoped. And she looked, and the numbers were there. And then they looked a little deeper. They weren't answering the phone. They had a whole bunch of leads that came in that they hadn't followed up on. All the things that were done to make the phone ring, make the leads come in, make this, all these sort of things. She had another one that was an e-commerce thing, and they had lots of purchases, but they weren't managing the website. So when people went to click to buy, at that point, it would tell them that they were sold out. And
I
so
had
they
a
got
similar situation.
exactly. So she said, "The hell with this. I'm not going to work with a client unless they're working with a business coach." Because unless you understand the fundamentals of your own damn business, you can't appreciate and take advantage of what the SEO can do for you. If they can bring in those calls, those leads, those buyers, and you can't convert them, or you don't understand that's a problem, then the SEO relationship isn't going to work, and it's not the SEO's fault. So I think there are some pieces there, the business fundamentals, conversion fundamentals, and just critical thinking skills that'll separate those who are very successful from those who aren't as things get tighter and tighter.
Totally. And like the three most dangerous things you are hearing now, like some myths.
SEO is dead.
Okay.
I love that one. There's no data for that. And then there's always these myths that never die, and they just don't. I saw one, and I had some comments back and forth with some people in an SEO group yesterday, as a matter of fact, who were making statements about if your links aren't indexed, they aren't worth anything. And we know from analysis, we know from testing, we know from a lot of different things that your links just have to be crawled to be in the link graph to give you the power. They don't have to be indexed. And that's been proven over and over again by lots of different SEOs who have gone through rigorous tests. And you can see it on your own sites. I have a simple link tool that we have that we built, and it makes these crappy little cloud links, and you can make those links and you can see movement. Now, they're not going to sit there and move you up to #1 or anything like that. And that's not the promise, the reason we built the tool. But you can see the movement. And those links are not indexed. We get them crawled, but they do not get indexed. But you can see the impact of them repeatedly over and over. You put out the links, 4 weeks later, here's your movement. over and over again. And yet people still have these myths: do follow, no follow. It's all about X, whatever it is. It's schema, it's on page, it's links. It's no, links are dead, on page is dead, schema is dead. We have all these strong opinions and they're all not backed in data. So I still hear those same things that I was hearing 15 years ago. They just don't die. The biggest one, SEO is dead. I'm like, and you can do everything with AI. The one I actually heard from a couple of people is that there are SEOs who are shifting away from SEO tools because they think the AI can do it for them. I was like, they just made my life easier, because SEOs that'll do that are not going to be able to compete. So I'll give you an example of this so you understand. I spent a lot of time over the years, even before the AI popped out, with the problem of how do you get the right entities for your topic? What are the core entities for that particular topic? And I tried a number of different approaches, and they're all good sounding approaches. And you go extract them from here, do this sort of analysis and cross, and you've kind of got this pool, and you look at the pool and visually you know that there are some entities that are missing and there's some entities that are in there that shouldn't be in there. Because any sort of logic that I give it is just based on my own logic, and it's going to put lines, and sometimes the lines are going to be in the wrong spot. And then I'd throw that away, and then about 6 months later I'd have a new idea, and I'd go through the process, and then I'd throw it away. And I did this for years. And then I had a realization at one point, and that is this: we cannot see inside of Google's knowledge graph. We can see inside of Google's knowledge graph. So Google has the answers, and we can't see them. So no matter what set of assumptions I use out here to grab the entities, I don't know if they're correct, and I can't verify them by looking at the answers. The other way to verify them would be, for example, if I were trying to get all the plumbing entities, if I could put up 1,000 similar pages on plumbing and mix up all the entities in different proportions, then get the rankings back for the 1,000 pages, then I could do some statistical analysis and figure out which entities contributed to the rankings and which ones didn't. But you can't do that. You can't do that sort of testing at scale because Google doesn't even show those kind of rankings anymore. So there's just no way to see that. And yet you hear my tool is the best one for pulling entities. I was like, how could you possibly know that yours is the best one for pulling entities when we don't know what the answer is? You know what your answer is, and you know you like your answer better than this other tool's answer. That other tool doesn't use the way that we do it, so it's clearly wrong. The same thing now is true with AI. Large language models do have their own knowledge graph inherent in that's how they answer the questions that you give them. And so when you say, give me a list of entities about plumbing, it can give you a list, and that list looks really good. But is it correct? Is it accurate? Is it any better than the other tools? I don't know. But I think that people think that a large language model, which is designed to answer a question, has SEO insights. And that's the dangerous piece. So going away from these other tools, which are using some SEO frameworks to go and extract that stuff, is a good thing. Even though they're not perfect, it's going to be better than this stuff over here. But people think, oh my God, it told me the keywords, it told me the entities, I had it combine all that stuff and write this article. I'm like, are you ranking number one? No, we've got a great process. I'm like, it's not a great process if you're not ranking at the top. You've got a process that you like, that you enjoy. And there are some people that have done some really cool things and they are making progress in that direction. But the average SEO, that's a bad decision. It's good for me if you're in one of my niches, because you're going to just use straight AI to try to compete on an SEO basis. You're dead.
Okay. I like that.
But again, you can use it. If I was just thinking about something, I will sit there and say, hey, give me a list of entities for this. I'm like, and it helps me think about the problem, but I don't take this as gospel and roll it automatically into content or page framework or anything else. Again, it comes down to, here's some data. Now, how do I think about it? It's that critical thinking skill. These are correct. These probably don't belong. I can understand why, because it's trained, whatever you're going to get, whatever it's trained on, you're going to get that information back.
Yeah.
It's only as good as its training data set.
Right. Okay, Lee. So this was like a very interesting conversation, and I think I will have a lot of interesting notes that Gemini will probably create. Any final thoughts?
No, I appreciate you having me on. It's fun to have these conversations about some of these topics and challenge the way people think about those things. The fun part is, over the years, and especially the years that I've been doing training, we still see all the people going through are still getting rankings using those foundational principles. Search engines don't just automatically change because now there's some sort of AI interface or anything else. A topic is a topic, links are links. You figure out relationships based on similar logic. And so not a lot has changed, even though the way we're utilizing the tools has changed dramatically.
Mhm.
The output hasn't.
Totally. I'm happy to. I hope you will accept me in the next iteration of the
Absolutely.
of the
Absolutely.
meeting. And I also hope to have your wife here as a guest one day. I wanted to have her earlier, but I think we didn't connect. But I hope she will agree to
Oh, I'm
being
sure
the guest.
she'd love to jump on and talk to you, and she's going to be a lot more entertaining than I am.
We'll see. Okay, cool. Okay, so thanks, Lee. Thanks, everyone.